And Aris, who is the editor-in-chief of BNE IntelliNews. He joins me now from Berlin to break all this down. Ben, EU Parliament just yesterday, Thursday, adopted a resolution declaring strong support for Belarus people. Now we have this urgent UN meeting and debate. I mean, strong pressure on the Lukashenko, right?
The international community are rallying and trying to bring, their pressure onto Lukashenko, who refuses to leave. He massively falsified the elections, the presidential elections on August the 9th, and the people in their entirety have risen up against him. However, he's holding on to power by use of the security services and unleashed a brutal reprisal against the protesters in the beginning, which is what's causing these human rights abuse accusations. And we're in this impasse now where Lukashenko won't leave. He's backed by Russia. He has the security forces behind him. And at the same time, every weekend, and it'll just happen again this weekend, we have hundreds of thousands of people coming onto the streets in order to protest, calling for Lukashenko's resignation. But there's an impasse. There's not much they can do to get him out as long as he's backed by the security services.
Right, and as you said, the protests continue, arrests continue. Now, Kremlin wants Europe to stay aside, but Europe, as we just mentioned, is taking action. Can we expect more moves from Russia following these latest moves coming from the US and EU?
Well, Russia has given its support in two ways. The first obvious one is with money. Putin and Lukashenko met earlier this week or last week in Sochi, and Russia gave Belarus a $1.5 billion loan, which bails it out in the short term. I think that money is only going to last for about a month, and then they're going to need more. But more importantly, Putin said that he would provide security forces. He would provide relief to Lukashenko if necessary. And by that, he means if the protests become violent, if the protesters try and by force take over government buildings, then Russia said that it would send in extra forces in order to support Lukashenko. And even if that doesn't happen, the psychological support that provides, because really the only way out of this is if the security forces themselves decide, Belarusians decide that Lukashenko is a lost cause and that they mutiny or split or join the people, then this could all be over very fast. That's exactly how it played out in Ukraine, the previous revolution.
Right. But Ben, there's one...
But as long as...
Yes, I do want to jump in here. You know, in Ukraine had a very strong opposition, and they've really had a plan about taking over. In case Lukashenko leaves, does the opposition in Belarus have the same means? Can they do that? Can they take over?
Yeah, Tikhanovskaya, the lady you showed earlier, I mean, she's been very clear about this. I mean, the protests, the demands, and this is what's unified the country, are very simple. Tikhanovskaya said that as soon as she comes in, what she'll do is she'll change the constitution to introduce term limits on the president, and then she will immediately quit and hold fresh elections. The idea being that if there's open and free elections and the political prisoners, some of whom are presidential candidates, are let out, then the population can have a proper election and choose a proper leader in order to take over. She has no aspirations for being president herself. I mean, she's merely a placeholder in order to oust Lukashenko and then have fresh elections where the people will have a free choice of who they actually want. That's what's on the table.
Okay, Ben, Aris, I do appreciate that insight for us, live for us from Berlin.